Welcome, everybody. Today is January 5th, 2021. Wow, I cannot believe we're already 5 days deep into the new year. And hopefully everyone's having a wonderful new year. And I know I'm having an absolute blast. Well, maybe not a blast, but I can say that I'm actually enjoying myself today. And I'm just glad to be here talking to you nice, lovely people. Well, so for today's show, it's a little jam-packed. There's a lot of opinionated stuff here. Well, then again, it's the Samantha K experience, so everything is opinionated by far. So I wanted to talk to you guys about the Brodie Lee tribute episodes dedicated to the life and the career of Mr. John Huber, aka Brodie Lee, aka Luke Harper from WWE. I know that I touched base on two episodes ago about his passing back in December 26th. And unfortunately he had passed away due to some lung issues. So this episode is basically talking about the tribute episodes that the professional wrestling companies WWE and AEW, who he last worked for, put on for him last week. So first up, the WWE Raw episode that took place last Monday on December 28th. I believe I just watched the episode, I believe, yesterday, and I have been online and I've heard people complain about the fact that, the company did not give Brodie Lee the 10-bell salute that they normally would do for other wrestlers and other people who work for, and non-wrestlers. I shouldn't say other people that work for the company, but non-wrestlers alike. There was a former wrestler that worked for the company. He had went by the name Kurt Hawkins. And I think his name is Brian Myers, his real name. So he was really upset, and I think he took to Twitter to talk about a few things about the fact that he felt it was offensive that the company did not give Brodie the 10-bell salute. And I have to agree. I know I've had this discussion with one other person, and they felt that, since he no longer worked for the company, why should he get the 10-bell salute? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. He was a former champion. Yes, he wasn't either Universal Champion or WWE Champion. It's just the fact that he was Intercontinental Champion and he was a tag team champion with his friend and partner, Eric Rowan, or Eric Redbeard. And it's not really fair to say that just because somebody no longer works for the company, you can't give them the same level of respect that they were given when they were alive. And I find that very insulting to not only him, but to his friends that he worked with. So instead they put up a brief picture of him before the show started, and I'm like, okay. And are they gonna make any references to him? The current world champion, Drew McIntyre, did his catchphrase. Brodie had this thing where he says the certain day of the week, and he will say, you know what that means. So since it was Monday, I believe the announcer for the show has said it's Monday. Now you know what that means. And so did Drew. Came out and he cut a promo, and he also said it's Monday, you know what that means. And I believe there was a couple of yes on the show, and some wrestlers were wearing Brodie armbands to express how they felt, and some wrestlers were using Brodie's discus lariat, his clothesline, which like completely devastates the opponent. Like, it's done so well and to perfection. Also his signature big boot, because he was a large guy, so he really had like a very domineering personality in the ring. And he also had another move. It's like kind of like a side. It looks like kind of like a sidewalk slam, kind of. But I don't recall at the moment what was the name of the move. But it's like really super effective. It kind of reminds me of Baron Corbin's Deep Six move. But it's kind of like that a little bit. But any event. Moving on. So the show was okay. They didn't really do much in a sense. Like, there were certain things that some wrestlers did, like they would use his catchphrase, they would use signature moves, but there weren't really no mention of him passing away or anything like that aside from the opening graphic. They didn't have any video package of him on the show, and it just kind of made you feel like, well, this man passed away, y'all could have at least made a video package for him. You know, he had died 2 days before. I mean, you couldn't have come up with something in that time frame. You have so much footage of him during his stint in the Wyatt family with Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan. You mean to tell me you couldn't have come up with, you know, a tribute to him in that regard? So it was really disappointing and very upsetting at certain points. But I'm glad that certain wrestlers used his moves. But overall, the show was just kind of like meh. You know, it was kind of more of like an afterthought. No one even brought up the fact that he normally would have like commentators bring up the fact that the person passed away and stuff like that. He didn't get a 10 bell salute. It was more like, yeah, we're just gonna put these armbands on and maybe use his signature moves and use some of his catchphrases, but other than that, there wasn't really nothing else. And I know that's not the wrestlers' fault. Like, I'm not blaming them at any point at all. I think it's just like upper management. I think they just figured like, okay, we're just gonna put this little thing in the front of the show and then that's it, you know. And then if we'll just let people say certain things on the show and do certain moves and stuff like that, but other than that, it was just it. So it was just kind of like a letdown for me. So I could understand where people would get upset and very very agitated over the show. Now on Wednesday, AEW, which was the last company that he worked for, as I mentioned earlier, AEW Dynamite was on Wednesday, December 30th, and the December 30th episode was nothing but a tribute episode for Brodie Lee. Like, from start to finish, that show hands down was everything Brodie Lee related. He was a member of this group called the Dark Order, and it had a lot of people in the group that Brodie had recruited shortly before. And there was this one girl named I don't want to mess up her name. I think her name is Anna J, and she goes by the number 99 in the group. And she was so wrought with emotion, you know, like he has this signature where he'll hold up his hand kind of like in a claw, and she was just so full of emotion when she first came out with her tag partner, and you could just feel the hurt and sadness as these wrestlers performed. This was the one night that the Dark Order, who were seemingly the bad guys, would team up with a set of other performers, and the whole night the Dark Order won all the matches. And I'm not even mad about that because it felt right, you know. It felt right. And then I love the fact that on commentary, like guys like Chris Jericho would mention like certain things like what Brodie Lee's tag team name was back in WWE, like the Bludgeon Brothers with him and Eric Rowan. And that was awesome too. Like, I like the fact that they would incorporate stuff that Brodie Lee did outside of AEW, which wasn't something that you would see WWE ever really do. And that's what I'm like. I'm not trying to say that, oh, one company is better than the other, but in terms of respect for the person, I felt like the company AEW, took it a step further. They made sure that this show was going to be about him and nothing but him. So there was a lot of references. There was even one guy, I think his name is Lance Archer, and he is so freaking huge. This guy is like a truck. He came out wearing the traditional Luke Harper outfit with the tank top, with the blue jeans and the scarf stuck in his back pocket, which is a homage to what Luke Harper, Brodie Lee used to wear when he first was part of the Wyatt family, when he was with Bray Wyatt, Eric Rowan, and Braun Strowman, and at one point Randy Orton. So it was based off of that look that he had, and it was just like, it made me tear up a bit, because it was like, shoot, I just realized like that was one of his looks. That was like his look that I known him for. He used to have his hair out. He had a really big beard, so he looked kind of crazy. And I used to make fun of him, and I used to say, like, damn, he looks like that one gas station attendant that you say in a horror movie that you never really want to F with, because he just looks so freaking intimidating and scary. Like, he looked like he was a walking horror movie character. Like, you get stuck somewhere and he could just possibly kill you. Like, and I think that his level of intimidation worked for him. And, so that was good seeing Lance Archer come out with Brodie Lee's old school outfit. It was so good seeing like the wrestlers and even the one referee that they had talk about the time when he and Brodie would sit backstage, and they'll talk about nothing about their kids. They'll talk about everything except for wrestling. And I thought that was really interesting. And the part where I think Chris Jericho had mentioned in his video package about the fact that, he had been in a hotel room and there was like this sticker on the ceiling, and it was like really bothering him, and he was like, he didn't know what the hell it was. So Brodie had came to his room to just like hang out and stuff, and he was like, yo dude, what the hell is that? And then he told him, he was like, listen, that's the arrow pointing to Mecca. And he was like, how the hell did you know that? He was like, everybody knows that. He's like, well, I didn't know that. So he was saying that Brodie was so full of information that, that's what made him so special. Like, he would know things that nobody else would probably really know. And that was one of the great takeaways that I took from the night. And I can't lie that I really got really emotional, because it was so good to see that his son and his wife was there, and they put his ring boots and his scarf in the center of the ring, and then they played this beautiful video package of all his pictures, like all these pictures that he had with his wife and his kids and friends that he had from WWE and also in AEW. Like, it was just such a beautiful send off to such a beautiful and wonderful person. I didn't know him personally, but you could feel that he was he was like the real deal. And it didn't help that he's also a New York native. He used to live in Rochester. He's from Rochester. So, and I'm in Brooklyn, but, I know we're not that close together. But the fact that he's close enough and he's still in the same state. So I felt like, one of my own passed on. So it was just like a really heartwarming episode, and it was a very beautiful tribute to him. I think AEW did an excellent job with their tribute to Brodie Lee, and I can't say enough. And the added piece to it was that the TNT Championship, his son, -1 Brodie Lee Jr., is going to be champion for life. So he's going to have that belt. So no matter what he does, if he wants to come back as an adult and work for the company, he can do so if he wants to. So I thought that that was really awesome, and I thought that that was great that they decided to do that. And overall, it was just a great send off to a wonderful person who obviously affected so many people, in the time that he was here. And I really am so sorry for his loss, and I'm so sorry that his family and friends are having to deal with his passing and now having to learn how to move on without him. So I think that that was a really great send off. And I also watched WWE SmackDown. Actually, I just finished watching the episode, which is why this review is about 2+ hours late. I just wanted to watch SmackDown, and honestly, I feel like WWE kind of sort of shit the bed on this one too, because although it was a bit better from Raw's episode, I just feel like they kind of really shit the bed on this episode too, because again, they put the graphic, there was no 10 bell salute, and I'm like, what the fuck, like, are we serious right now? And then I think my favorite part of the show was when Big E was backstage, and Big E had mentioned various things that Brodie Lee had liked. He mentioned the hockey team. I think it was the Toronto Maple Leafs that he liked. He said that he was partying or cheering, having people come up to him from where he was at to Rochester, New York, which was where Brodie Lee is from. It was like his promo was strictly about Brodie Lee, and I loved that, even though that he had the Brodie Lee armband on too, and he was just celebrating his friend in his own way. It kind of got me mad that Apollo Crews kind of interrupted the promo a bit to talk about how he wanted to become IC champion, and said that, oh well, if it wasn't for him, Big E wouldn't be champion. So, and he forced himself to, Big E was going to send out an open invite for a championship, and then this guy just swoops in and is like, well, because of me, I'm the one that helped you get this title. I'm like, bro, he was in the middle of a good promo. Like, what the fuck? Like, it kind of really got me a little annoyed, because I was like, I wanted to see where he was going with this, like if he had any more material that he wanted to talk. But it just really got me really annoyed. What I liked and what I heard about in the Talking Smack portion of the shows and the Raw talk, the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, they had a discussion about Brodie, and you could see, and Xavier, and most of the emotional stuff I noticed didn't take place on the show as it did outside of WWE. The fact that Xavier, he was so passionate, and you could see, and he just wanted to break down and cry when he was talking about Brodie, and you just feel the emotion coming through, and you felt it. It was very heartwarming to see that, because that wasn't just a shoot. It wasn't fake. It was real. There's pictures of them talking, hanging out. Kofi's kids were cool with Brodie's kids, so it was kind of like, part of them just got torn away, and the raw emotion of that was just a lot. And I was like, wow, like this is like, they're really affected by this man's loss, because he meant so much to these people. And then I think on Talking Smack, which premiered on Saturday, I didn't get to see that, but I think Big E was on it. But I think Big E did talk about Brodie Lee, and I'm going to go and look at that, which I should have looked at it for this episode of the experience, but I just wanted to get on with the show, because I have finally watched wrestling, and I was just kind of all wrestlinged out right now. But overall, I think that SmackDown on Fox, it was pretty much more of the same from Raw. It's just that they put more emphasis. They mentioned Big Rig, which was one of his nicknames. They say yeah again. They used his discus lariat. They used his special move. There was like subtle things like Big E's promo that he cut backstage after he won his tag match with Apollo Crews, and it was like the armbands still. I think Sasha Banks also wore an armband that said Brodie on it, and so did Bayley, who's a heel, but Bayley wore a blue armband with the word Brodie in black letters. So I think that she just wanted to kind of set apart the difference a bit from everybody. I believe a few people still wore armbands. A lot of the wrestlers like KO, Kevin Owens, I didn't really see anything, and I didn't really see anything from the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, because I guess he's a heel and he doesn't want to break character. But if there were like little things, if they did wear them, I didn't see it. But I know like certain people oh my gosh, I just said his name. Big E wore his, and so did Bayley and a couple of others. Cesaro also wore his, and I think also Daniel Bryan wore his as well. So it was okay show. Like I said, they didn't give him the 10-bell salute, but he definitely got it on AEW. And in fact, that's what started off the show. And, AEW was really awesome. I actually liked the matches. The matches weren't bad. I was like, oh my God, like the action was like, it had me hooked into it. I don't really get that same level of vibe from WWE as much. And it's not to crap on WWE. It's just that with a lot of things that happen with WWE, I feel like their wrestling is kind of tainted. It's like you already know what to expect in a lot of things, and it's just too oversaturated with theatrics to me. It's not so much as about really ground and pound wrestling, but just trying to do super kicks and all this other shit, and it's just too much. They're too focused on the glamour and the glitz and glamour of things. It doesn't even feel really about wrestling anymore. But I digress. It's not about crapping on WWE, but I'm just glad that he had a proper send off, and I know that he probably, if he could, he probably say thank you. And I just it's sad that he passed away, because I actually liked him as Luke Harper, and I always felt like he was so underutilized in WWE. And I was like, you had this talent right here, this big guy, he can move, he can wrestle. It wasn't like he was sloppy in the ring, and you don't use him. And then you fire him last year, now 2019, you let him go in December, and then he was caught in that stupid 90-day clause that you couldn't compete, and then he showed up in I think March of and then by that time he showed up, we were in a pandemic. He was supposed to perform in Rochester, New York, to a big crowd, and unfortunately that didn't happen. And then fast forward a few months later, and unfortunately he passed away. So it's just like, when you have a gift, use it when you got it. Like he was a prime example of people not knowing how to market and push people properly. He could have been at least champion 2 times before he passed away. But again, wrestling politics, I'll tell you. All right, guys, I know that was a lot to digest, and I'm gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back. I gotta go pay some bills, and we're gonna talk about Lupine Humbug review. The book is by Hanleigh Bradley, and be right back. And we're back. Alright, guys, so today's book review, Lupine, Humbug by Hanleigh Bradley. She is a UK author that I've been reading her books. Lupine is a part of this book this book series, a book collection called the Silver Springs Collection, and it's basically has all of these women characters, and they are in a reverse harem. It's also a paranormal romance. So Lupine Humbug is a Christmas story from the perspective of a male character called Enzo Rossi. Enzo is a mate of Lupine. He's Italian, and he's not the most easygoing to deal with. He's more like, you know what, I'm just gonna be my way, and I don't really care about what anyone has to say about it, and that's that. Well, since he's been living with Lupine and her 4 other mates, and it's really crazy, they're all 5 of them, is it 5? 6 of them, excuse me, are wolf shifters, and they now have a baby named Luna, who they're all taken care of. And Lupine runs this orphanage of other kids who have superpowers. Basically, the whole town of Silver Springs is nothing but supernatural people and kids. So his story takes place around Christmas time. Enzo doesn't like Christmas. He hates Christmas, and he's just like, I'm over it. She wants me to wear this stupid Christmas hat, and I'm not doing it. So Enzo is trying to find his footing into town, because he doesn't have a job, and since he's part of this wolf mafia, he needs to now go and find some suitable work. So he's on his way to dropping off one of the kids to her magic lessons in the woods. He comes across this manor, this house, and he said he never noticed the house here before, but now it's here. He says that he gets the idea that he wants to run a hotel so he could bring in some income for him and his group of guys who work for him. He decides that he's going to open up the place as a hotel. He's going to remodel a bit. But the problem is, there's a dragon shifter in one of the rooms that occupies the manor. So Enzo introduces himself. The guy's not having it, and he's just pretty much like, I just want to be left alone, just go away. And Enzo promises, listen, I will leave you alone as long as I can have the place and set up shop here. The guy's like, whatever, just, I don't want to be bothered. So the guy, Enzo goes about his business, and then one of his guys, I guess, must have come across the dragon, upset the dragon, and then a pipe burst in the place, and now they have to go and get the pipe fixed. Now they're supposed to have like their Christmas ceremony in the middle of the town to show off the new tree. The dragon comes and destroys the Christmas tree, and just everyone runs and scatters. They take the kids back to the orphanage, and Enzo is left with the task of now trying to calm down the dragon shifter. So once he gets back to the hotel, he finds out that the dragon shifter used to be married a long time ago, and his wife had unfortunately passed away. So he's kind of sort of like trying to appease to him and say, well, you know, if you be more nicer to people, maybe things will be better. And he's like, I hate Christmas. And he's like, listen, I hate Christmas too. So I'm trying to do right by my family, and here you come messing me up. So Enzo decides that he is going to invite the dragon shifter to Christmas dinner, and everything seems to go well. Like, I guess he got him out of his shell a little bit, and he says, you know, it's cool. So what I liked about the book was the fact that we got to see things from Enzo's side. Like, Enzo isn't as bad of a guy as we thought he was in the 2 books prior to this, called Wanted by Wolves. He was kind of sort of like, he is the antagonist of the story, but since Lupin saw something in him and was attracted to him, she said she wanted him as one of her mates, despite already having 4. And there was obviously some opposition from the other 4, because he's a rival member, and it was slated that his family was out to kill her family or kill her. But if she were to have a child, it would bring peace amongst both factions. So in a sense that's already happened. So there's peace amongst both sides, and it's okay book. I think what I kind of felt like in parts it's a bit rushed to me. And I guess it's not any fault really on the author. I think it's just that I feel like Enzo kind of jumped to do certain things that he probably wouldn't do, but I think he's just doing it to appease Lupin and keep the peace amongst him and the other 4 shifters. So I could kind of see like a little bit of rush to certain things. But overall, I think it's a good book. If you guys like paranormal romances and you like reverse harems, then this book is for you. If you don't, then it's a good easy read. If you're just curious about it, then you can read it. Hanleigh also has another set of books that she's come out with, and you can also follow her on Instagram. I believe her name is Hanleigh Bradley on Instagram. And that's my take on Lupin by Humbug. I'll be back with another quick commercial. And we're back. All right, guys. For our movie portion of this show, I am going to be reviewing Zombieland Double Tap. Yes. Finally, after 10 years, this movie's finally come out. I believe it's been 10 years, because the first one, I think, came out in 2009. Actually, no, it's been more than 10 years now, because we're in 2021. So about 12 years. Well, I'm going to be reviewing the movie because, quite frankly, it's a long overdue. And I forgot that I actually did watch the movie about maybe sometime around episode 2 of the show of this podcast. So I've been kind of like, oh yeah, I remember I watched this. Why didn't I not talk about this? All right, so Zombieland Double Tap. Obviously, it takes place a few years after the last movie, the first movie. At this point, Columbus and I want to say I remember her name. I believe it's Wichita. Yeah, Columbus and Wichita. Well, first of all, if you guys have not seen Zombieland Double Tap, then you know what? Then you could pause this review right here, pause the show right here, and I will just tell you what we're having in store for episode 4 for next week. So yeah, and that show is going to be jam-packed. But for right now, if you haven't watched Zombieland Double Tap, stop the podcast right here and I'll check it to you next week. But if you did, then let's continue with the show. Alright, so Zombieland Double Tap, right? Columbus, Wichita, and Tallahassee. And I forgot Abigail Breslin's character's name. I really feel so bad because I'm like, wait, what is her name? Well, the 4 of them are still, slaying zombies. But it's gotten to the point where I think now that Abigail's character wants to do other things. She wants to break off from the group because Tallahassee sees her more of a little girl, and he's not letting her like grow up. So she's just kind of like a little annoyed. Her name is Little Rock. There you go. Her character's name was Little Rock. So I think she's just been kind of like, annoyed with the group because she feels like she's just being treated like a kid and she just wants to move on. So they end up driving to the White House, and obviously the White House is no more, and they're kind of like, okay, whatever. But Abigail, Breza, Little Rock, they've just been kind of like doing their own thing, killing the zombies. So they set up shop in the White House, and while they're there, Columbus proposes to Wichita, and he gives her like this hope diamond, and Tallahassee like rejects him, and she's like, whatever. So by this time, Little Rock has already had enough of Tallahassee because Tallahassee thinks that she's a little kid and just won't let her grow up, and she wants to start her own family. So after these two incidences happened, Wichita and Little Rock leave Columbus and Tallahassee behind, and it's a month before Wichita comes back and says, hey, Little Rock found this boyfriend and she's gone and I don't know where she is. The last thing I think they're going to Graceland, home of Elvis Presley. And Tallahassee's all over this. Like, he wants to go because he wants to like see how she's doing and stuff. And this time Columbus finds another girl named Madison. So played by Zoe Deutsch, and I swear Zoe is hilarious as the typical ditzy blonde trope, and it's overall a funny movie. I think they also come across Nevada, who was played by Rosario Dawson, and they also come across Owen Wilson. I forgot what his character's name was in the movie. And he's like the equivalent of Tallahassee, and he also has a guy named Flagstaff, I think his name is, and he's like Columbus. So it was just funny seeing like two versions of the same characters on the screen. Yeah, so it was a little funny. Honestly, I feel like the movie was good, but I feel like for me, the first movie was better. And because it just set the precedence for this type of movie and giving the audience a handbook on how to handle the zombies and stuff. But I did like the movie. If I had to rate it in a star system, I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5 per se. It's not because of anything really, really bad about it. It's just, quite frankly, I just felt that, it was kind of one of those, like, it took too long to from the first movie to the next, and it just didn't really, to me, pack the same level of oomph that the first one had. And I understand, because also you needed time for Abigail to grow up, because she was a child, back in the first movie. And now she's an adult, so it's kind of one of those like, well, we had to give her time to grow up and stuff, and I get it, but it just kind of, to me, I felt it was just kind of off, So now that she's, I guess the actress is 24 years old now, I guess, it's kind of one of those like, yeah, you just needed her time to grow up a bit, because she was like underage, So I totally understand, but yeah, I just honestly wish that we had more had like the sequels earlier as opposed to, waiting. But I understand with the age limit and whatnot, I think it would be kind of hard. But yeah, if you want to watch Zombieland Double Tap, you guys go on ahead. It's fun. I mean, I like it. They're new classes of zombies now, so those are interesting, especially the T800 ones that are really, I feel like they should be called T1000s though, because T1000s was no joke. That shit was pretty much damn near indestructible. Unless you have some liquid nitrogen, then you know what. Then you know what's good. But them things were like indestructible, man. Like, so, but they're called T800s in the movie. I don't know if there's any copyright that they had to get with James Cameron in terms of using a phrase from Terminator. So I don't know, but there are a couple new types of zombies that pretty much are indestructible, and they have some that are really, really ditzy, called the homers. And those are like the ones that, all intents and purposes, I think they would need special assistance from someone else. I don't really know how else I could put it without it sounding really bad and horribly offensive. So yeah, I honestly think that that's the best way I could put it. But yeah, Zombieland, 3 stars, maybe 3.5. Just for the comedic parts of it, and Bill Murray makes a return appearance to kind of, redact what happened to him in the first movie, so to speak, since Columbus killed him and stuff. So it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. I'm not gonna say in what capacity that he's back, but at least you guys will get like a taste of the Bill Murray. I don't know if that sounds right, but hey, whatever. So that's the review. That's the show for today. Thank you for joining the Samantha K Experience. And stay tuned for episode 4, where we're going to talk about the Stranger Things season 1 conclusion. And we're also going to be talking about, we're going to have a retro movie corner. We're going to look at the dance films Breakin' 1 and 2. And we're also going to talk about our first music review. Is going to be Eminem's Music to Be Murdered By, Side B. And we're going to bring back some webtoons. We're going to talk about secret playlists. So, those 4 things next week on episode 4 of the Samantha K Experience. And you guys could also check me out on other social media platforms. To email me for any requests, reviews, or if you just want to shoot the shit, SamanthaKP82@gmail.com. I'm always available by email. And if you also have something that you want to promote or want me to review personally, no matter what it is, I'm also down for it. You can also send me a line there on my email address. And I'm also available on Instagram and Twitter at SamanthaEXP218 on both. And I'm also on Facebook, the Samantha K Experience. Just type it in the search, you'll find it. I have like a whole nice colorful background border that has all of these famous things going on. So if you guys want to shoot me some lines over there, you're more than welcome to do so. And I also have to tell you guys, drum roll please, I've just started a new Tumblr page, which is also based off the Samantha K Experience. So if you guys don't like using Facebook and you don't like using Twitter, you can also follow me there, where I will be uploading the podcast episodes each week as the time goes on. If you guys want to ask me some questions there, I'm more than willing to answer them. If you guys want give me some feedback, that's also I'm more than welcome to any feedback and any suggestions that you guys have. And I'm also forgot to tell you guys, I think I also have a blog too. Yes, I know I have a blog. It's called the SamanthaKExperience.blogspot.com. Yes, I am almost everywhere. So I'm available Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, and also by email. And I am also on Blogger. So if you guys can hit me up on any one of those platforms, I'm more than welcome. And I'm also here on Anchor.fm. So you guys can also listen to the weekly podcast as well. And that's it. So guys, take care of yourselves. And to quote Jerry Springer, and each other. Peace.